Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2020-21 season. My name is Dan and today I thought I'd do for you a video all about double game week 26 and the best strategy, how we're going to approach it. We're going to do some last minute thoughts on all kinds of things to help you tackle this game week, because I do understand this is a confusing game week. It really is, especially when we start to consider the future potential double game weeks, the potential blank game weeks in the future as well. There is a lot to think about and there is some real opportunities to gain some real rank over the next couple of game weeks. It's confusing. It's confused me. I've had to think about it a lot. Some plans are going to plan, some plans are not going to plan. But hopefully we can figure it all out today and help you out with some big decisions. So going to be going for a few things. First of all, the fixtures, where we should be targeting the fixtures and the blanks and how we can get around them. We're going to be looking at some potential players we want to be bringing in for this game week in particular, and to make sure that we are also covered for blank game week 29. Then we're going to look at some potential chip strategies. I know some of you guys are thinking about using the bench boost. Some of you guys are thinking about using the triple captain. And I'm going to try and help you figure out for yourselves, is this the right week for you to use your bench boost or triple captain chip? All coming up in this video. Hopefully this will cover it all, and if you do enjoy it, please do give a big like if you do find it helpful at all, and do subscribe if you are new around here too. So without further ado, I think we get straight in and have a look at these fixtures for double game week 26 and beyond. So some of you guys might recognise this big table already of all of the fixtures coming up. I have modified it slightly just to be a little bit more up to date, and we've cut it down so it's game week 26 to 29 now, because this is the period we want to be focusing on during this exact moment right now. Basically, we can't think too far ahead, we can't think too short term either, but in particular I want you guys to cast your eyes to double game week 26 and blank game week 29 as well. These are the two key game weeks that are going to define a big part of your season. These are real opportunities to gain a lot of rank, but they're also possibilities that you could lose a lot of rank if you don't tackle these game weeks properly. So these are real opportunity weeks, 26 and 29. So we know this already. I've spoken about it a little bit before, but let's say it again. There are three teams that not only double in game week 26, but also they play in game week 29. And those teams are Aston Villa, Fulham, and Tottenham Hotspur. Now, all the other teams, although they may double in game week 26, and that's great, it's great to double in game week 26, they then blank in game week 29. So you can bring in a lovely player from, Leicester, for example, a nice double game week in game week 26, but you'll get to blank game week 29 and you'll go, oh no, I'm a player down. I might be in a little bit of trouble here. Same with other teams. I know a lot of you guys will be thinking about bringing in maybe Manchester United players. Just consider that if you bring in a player that doubles in game week 26 that does not play for Aston Villa, Fulham or Tottenham, they are going to blank in 29. So you've got to have a nice escape route to make sure you are still covered. So this is the real difficulty here. This is what we need to be thinking about. How can we make the best of game week 26 without sacrificing too much in game week 29? It's a balancing act, and the answer, the simple solution, the friends of yours are Aston Villa, Fulham and Tottenham. We're going to talk about a little bit about some players that we could potentially look to get from those teams as well. Now, also, obviously, we've got Manchester City there who have the double game week in game week 27, so that's worth keeping an eye on if you're not already tripled up on Man City players. Southampton, although they play Sheffield United and Man City in game week 27, Man City, I don't really know if that counts as a double game week. It's kind of like a game week and a half. So Southampton, I would kind of completely disregard entirely. They don't double in game week 26. They double game week 27. It's not really a very good double at all. And of course, they blank in 29. So don't worry about Southampton players. But there is one more team I do want you to pay a little bit of attention to, and that is Everton. They play Southampton and West Brom in double game week 26, which are amazing fixtures. You pretty much can't get much better than that in terms of fixtures for Everton, particularly for those Everton attacking players. That looks really, really nice. So when we're talking about Digne, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, any player like that, that's going to be really good. But also, cast your eyes to game week 28, and there is a slim possibility that Everton have a double game week there in game week 28 against Burnley and also Aston Villa, which of course also means that Aston Villa potential extra double game week in 28. Now, this is not confirmed. It's a possibility. I don't know what the chances are of it happening, but there is a very real possibility that that Everton versus Aston Villa fixture is going to be moved to game week 28, and it will be there. And then suddenly Aston Villa looking really appealing, Everton looking much more appealing, because not only do they have this amazing double game week 26, but also have a nice double game week in 28, and things start to look really nice for them as well. So these are kind of the 4 teams I would be most willing to target when going into game week 26, because not only does it take into consideration good fixtures now, Aston Villa got some good fixtures now, Everton have got some good fixtures now, Fulham, arguably have okay fixtures, and Spurs, we'll talk about that in a second, but these are the teams I would want to be targeting with my transfers, mainly right this very second going into game week 26. So which players are we going to be transferring in then? We've got our teams that we're looking at. Which players are we going for? Now, this is kind of my thinking, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. The pool of players that I would be looking at right now is actually fairly small. There's not actually that many players I would be super willing to bring in right now that, one, cover us for double game week 26 and also cover us for game week 29. If you're going outside of this kind of group of players, then perhaps you're thinking a little bit short-sighted. Of course, unless you're thinking of playing free hits, maybe in blank game week 29, which I don't know if that's the right move. Wild cards as well in game week 29. Not sure about this. I'm not sure that's the right move either. So I do kind of feel like we should be looking to cover double 26 and blank 29. So how are we going to do that? Well, we look at the Spurs players, and I've written down Kane and Reguilon. Kane is providing pretty good underlying stats, although he's not scoring. You wouldn't say Kane is in fabulous form or anything like that. You wouldn't say Spurs are in fabulous form. Anyway, they kind of have these fixtures against Burnley and Fulham, which I don't think are amazing fixtures. Burnley, okay, maybe there's a couple of goals to be had against Burnley, but Fulham, I actually quite like the look of Fulham's defence. And when I look at Spurs' form, I'm not actually massively confident about their attack. Obviously, I would consider Kane because he's Kane. Son, on the other hand, not really so keen on him. Reguilon, I do think is an interesting pick because he's super attacking. If Spurs play 5 at the back or 3 at the back, depending on how you look at it, Reguilon's going to be pushing really far forward, even further forward. He's a really attacking, fullback there, and he's super important to that Spurs team as well. Mourinho has talked a lot about how much he misses Reguilon. Reguilon's got to come back, and maybe Reguilon is going to be a big part of an upturn in some Spurs form. And if he is, he's going to be a player that we want. Now, when we look at Spurs' fixtures in game week 26, Burnley and Fulham, they're really nice fixtures from a defensive point of view as well. And although Spurs haven't been keeping a lot of clean sheets, I do like the look of that potential, your potential clean sheets there, as well as Reguilon's potential attacking return. So could be quite nice, could be interesting. A lot of you guys will be looking at Eric Dyer as well. Should be said that Eric Dyer is not nailed anymore. I don't think he's nailed. He's missed a couple of games recently in the Premier League. He's playing in sort of other competition games as well, which means maybe he's getting rotated a little bit more for Premier League games. There seems to be a bit of rotation there, so you do take a risk with Dyer, and I would try to make sure, guys, that you do target players that are very nailed on, because then when we come to these double game weeks, you get your player playing in both fixtures. If your player isn't nailed and they're only playing one fixture, then it's kind of like you haven't transferred in a double game week player at all. So do consider that when you're trying to kind of think about your players. Son, as I say, badly out of form. Other players outside of that, probably really risky. People have talked about Bale and Ali and things like that. Lucas, maybe, Bergwijn. It's a pretty crazy to go for those players, but if you really fancy it, at least you've got a Spurs player, which is, I guess, a good thing. So moving on to Villa, really the only player I'm looking at, that I would say looks really nice is Watkins. And I'm assuming most of you guys will already have Martinez already. Martinez, obviously a fabulous player to have from Villa. Watkins is a player. When I look at the most sensible transfer for this game week, for me personally, now I don't have Watkins in my team, I look at the most sensible transfer in and I think it's Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins is the sensible transfer in. You've got this really nice double game week against Leeds or Sheffield United. Teams can score goals against Leeds and Sheffield United. We've then got Newcastle and potentially Everton in game week 28, which is really nice. And then Spurs, who are actually kind of struggling for clean sheets at the moment, in game week 29 as well. So potentially a few goals for Ollie Watkins, the main striker, the nailed-on guy in that Aston Villa attack. Now, I have also written down Traore here as a bit of a differential, which could actually be kind of interesting. So if you really fancy a differential, Traore could be the one. Obviously, Grealish is kind of, I don't know, I feel like he's going to be injured for this double game week. I don't think he's going to be playing in either of these games. I've seen reports of him being out for up to 4 weeks. I'm sure we'll find out a little bit more information later on in the week, but that doesn't fill me with confidence. Is that going to affect Aston Villa's attacking ability? Yeah, it probably is. Grealish creates so many chances, so where are the chances going to come from? So there is that to consider. I don't think Aston Villa are absolutely essential in their attack because they have got this major Grealish issue of him missing. So not fully convinced by that one, but Watkins against some of these defences like Leeds, Sheffield United, Newcastle in game week 28, maybe even Spurs in game week 29. There seems like there could be a couple of goals, and if they're coming from someone, Watkins is not a bad shout there, is he? So Fulham is a really interesting one, and I don't want you guys to underestimate Fulham. I said this in my buy, sell, keep, avoid video yesterday. There's a few players I actually am kind of interested in. So I'll say Areola first because he's the goalkeeper. You're probably not going to be making a goalkeeper transfer, but if you are, you do want a double game week goalkeeper. Areola could be a really nice one to go for there. We've got Aina as well, who was just smashing it for points recently. I spoke about him a lot in yesterday's video, so I won't talk about him here, but he looks really good. If you're going to go for a defender, Aina is the one to go for. And then we've got Josh Maja, who I am super interested in him right now. He's 5.5 million. He's really, really cheap. Easy to bench when he's got these horrible fixtures against Liverpool and Man City. And he just looks like, actually, like he could be a pretty decent player. His underlying stats look pretty good. He scored a couple of goals in that game the other week, didn't he? And, you know, Fulham's fixtures, Crystal Palace is a nice one in double game week 26. Spurs, like I say, they can concede goals. Fulham have got Leeds in game week 29, so not only have you got a player who actually plays in game week 29, but actually that's actually quite a nice fixture for an attacking player to go up against Leeds, so that looks really nice. And then finally Everton, who, although they don't play in blank game week 29, they do look just so good for game week 26. The fixtures, Southampton and West Brom, that's just so good for Everton. And then there's potential for game week 28. That looks really nice as well. So DCL, absolute must have this game week. Potential captain option there. Digne, I really like the look of if you can afford him. Richarlison, you could go for, but it's kind of a little bit of a risky pick. And it's not differential enough for me to say absolutely go for Richarlison. He's still like, I don't know, 7-8% owned, I think, Richarlison. So I don't think he's absolutely essential, and it's not differential enough to kind of make it worth spending all that money on a player who is quite literally just not posting as much nice stats as DCL. DCL looks the better option in pretty much every way, so if it's one or the other, you definitely go for DCL. But anyway, there are a few other teams that I would maybe consider for your transfers this game week, and City would be, obviously, I mean, I've spoken about this so much, guys. If you have not tripled up on City already, come on, what are you waiting for? I know a lot of you guys, I've said it so much already. You've got to triple up on City. You've got to triple up on City. I've been saying it for a month, guys. I'm sure most of you guys are already there. You know what you're doing. But if you've not tripled up on City yet, that could be a really good thing to do right now in game week 26. And then also, I know a few people are looking at Leicester as well. You know, Harvey Barnes, Vardy. If you want to go for them, that's fair enough. They've got Arsenal and they've got Burnley. They're not amazing fixtures, but Leicester have got a good, they've got good away form, and they're away against Burnley, and they've also got a fairly good record against Arsenal as well. So maybe they do get a couple of results there, but the problem is there that it is a short-term solution. You know, Leicester play well, double game week in 26, but when we get to game week 29, you're now down a player, essentially, by going for a Leicester player rather than, say a Villa, Fulham, Spurs player. You will be down a player in game week 29. So you've got to weigh it up. Do you think it's worth it? Is your Leicester player going to score just as much as a Villa, Spurs, Fulham player in one less game week? Because that's essentially what will be happening. Leicester will play one less game week during the same period. You've got to think about it like that. Is it worth it to that degree? And that's kind of up to you guys. But yeah, those are the players I would be targeting. And I think we finally go on to a little bit about the chips that you could use this game week. So let's start off talking about the bench boost. A lot of people are asking, should I bench boost this week? And one way I could tell you the answer to that is look through every one of your individual teams, but that's kind of difficult to do. So let's try and give you some generic answers and try and help you figure this out for yourself. Now, this is a big question. It's a question that I myself have struggled with. Am I going to be playing my bench boost this game week? I'm really not sure if I want to do it. I'm leaning towards yes now, but the kind of advice I would give for this one is don't feel like you have to have 15 players who all double. It's not a realistic expectation. You cannot go into this double game week with all of 15 of your players, every single one of them doubling, and then playing your bench boost on 15 doubling players. It's not really realistic. Because if you've got 15 players right now that all double in game week 26, that means you've lost out on a lot of Leeds United points. You've missed out on Rafinha, Bamford, Dallas last game week. Maybe you didn't take a punt on Ings last game week. which, I don't know, good punt. It didn't come off, obviously. But if you have 15 players playing double game week 26, that means you don't have any Leeds players, which means you missed out last game week. It also means if you have all 15 of your players doubling up in game week 26, that probably means that you're going to find yourself a little bit short in game week 29, unless, you're already tripled up on Villa, you're already tripled up on Fulham, you're already tripled up on Tottenham. Then fair enough, but I doubt that's kind of the situation. So 15 is not really a realistic target for a bench boost, so don't put so much pressure on yourself thinking, I can only bench boost if I have 15 bench boost players. Don't feel like you have to do that, honestly. So honestly, 12 is probably enough for a good bench boost. Even if you have to take a -4, if you find yourself having to take like -8, -12 just to get to 12 bench boost players, then maybe we're in the region of, maybe it's not worth it. And I don't think you need to go so far as, if you're taking like a -8 to get 13, 14 bench boost players, that's probably going to bite you in the bum later down in the line, because you've taken loads of minuses to fill your team with players who double in game week 26, and all you're going to have to do is take a load of minuses again when it comes to game week 29 to get these players back into your team, because you're going to find yourself with not enough players in game week 29. Of course, targeting Villa, Fulham and Tottenham really does help that, so do bear that in mind. Players like Bamford, Rafinha, these are kind of players you probably have who don't double in game week 26, right? Maybe you got some Brighton defenders as well versus West Brom. Think about it this way. On an ordinary game week, you would definitely be starting Bamford versus Villa, Rafinha versus Villa, Ben White against West Brom. You would definitely be starting these players in an ordinary game week, right? So that kind of makes you think maybe they are worth bench boosting, because ordinarily, I would quite like these players to play. But because we've got double, that's kind of the situation. So the situation will kind of lean itself towards, yes, you've got a load of double game week players, but the players that you have single game week players are usually going to be of a better quality this game week than they would be on another game week. So even if you're thinking, well, I've got 3 players on the bench who only play singles, that's the same situation next week. Next week I'll have 3 players on the bench who play singles. But this week there will be a higher standard, generally speaking, of those players on the bench, because next game week you'll be benching your 3 worst players. This week you're benching the 3 players, not because they're bad players, but because they only play single game week. So that probably makes them a little bit better and more worth boosting as well. So I do think that it is kind of unlikely that you will have a better opportunity to bench boost than this game week. And obviously it's situational. It all depends on you and your team and how you are set out. But in general, game week 26 is probably going to be the best opportunity to bench boost for the rest of the season. As long as you're semi-prepared, you can make a nice bench boost without taking, if you can take a -4, a -8 and make a decent bench boost, then it's probably worth it, because the later double game weeks, and there will be double game weeks in the future, don't worry about that. The later double game weeks will, they'll have fewer teams to choose from. There'll be fewer teams doubling in one individual game week, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult to pull together a full 15. And 2, it's going to be later on in the season when teams start to rotate. So you could have, double like Man City defense or something like that. Your 2 defenders will probably only play 1 game each. If a team is already done really well, they've hit their targets, or a team is maybe mid-table, they're just trying to play some youth players, even though they have double game weeks later on in the season, they might actually start rotating, and the players you would want to have in your team might not even play twice. Hopefully that makes sense. But later on in the season, they're not going to be as easy to do a nice double game, a nice bench boost, unless you've got you're using a wild card later on in the season, and you kind of get lucky. But this is still a good opportunity, so don't worry too much about filling your whole bench with double game week players. 12 double game week players, 13 double game week players, that's still good, particularly if your non-double game week players are like, Bamford, Rafinha, Ben White, for example. There are some still good single game week options there as well who are worth bench boosting. So on your triple captain, this is kind of this is a little bit different, because I genuinely don't believe that there is such thing as a triple captain strategy. Triple captain is not really something you plan weeks and weeks and weeks in advance for. All I would say about your triple captain is you got to use it on a double game week. That's kind of the only tip I would give. Use it on a double game week. Obviously, this is a double game week, so this is a opportunity to use your triple captain. With a triple captain, you don't need there to be loads of double game weeks though. For example, I used my triple captain a couple of game weeks ago in game week 24. I used it on Gundogan, who got 19 points. Absolutely fantastic. Man City were one of the only teams who played 2 fixtures in that game week. So you don't need a massive double game week to play your triple captain. All you need is one team that you like the look of to have that double. So it's not as essential to play your triple this game week, but obviously there are some nice options this game week to play your triple captain. So if you like a look of a player, you like a look of their form, you know, they're nailed within their team and they've got 2 decent fixtures, then that could be a sign that it's time for you to play your triple if you really want to do that, if that's something you want to do. But don't feel like you absolutely have to do it this game week if you're not as confident. It's more, you know, I'd be more leaning towards playing my bench boost this game week and saying, okay, maybe there's a lot of good arguments to play your bench boost now and not wait. With triple captain, it's kind of like you can wait for another opportunity if you want to and kind of roll the dice and hope a better double game week for a team or a player comes up. So anyway, this game week, if you're looking for a triple captain, I would try not to be too risky about it. There are a few players I would look to be playing that triple captain chip on. Bruno Fernandes, a real obvious one there, plays Chelsea in Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace is a nice fixture. Chelsea is not such a nice fixture. We've got Salah, Sheffield United and Chelsea again. Chelsea being this real annoying team this double game week, but Sheffield United is a nice fixture. Chelsea, again, not really so much for Salah. So you've got the nice fixture and the not so nice fixture. Maybe that's enough to convince you. Calvert-Lewin, obviously, he doesn't have the same pedigree as a Bruno Fernandes or a Salah, but he does have these 2 really nice fixtures against Southampton and West Brom, so you could consider that. And Ilkay Gundogan has the form. He has West Ham and Wolves. Pretty good fixtures, I would say. I'd say in general, those are 2 pretty good fixtures. If you think he's going to be playing both matches, if you think that he's going to play well in those matches, and, you know, continue his good form that he showed before his injury, you know, last game week or the game week before, whatever, then that could be a good one to go for. Now, there are some people who are saying, okay, maybe you could triple captain Kane. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not convinced by this one. I do think Burnley and Fulham have been pretty good defensively, you know, not too bad defensively recently, and you could put that down in part to their fixtures, but they have been pretty good, particularly Fulham. I do quite like the look of Fulham's defence. And Spurs, their attack is kind of not great. So you've got Burnley and Fulham who have shown good defensive form, and you've got Spurs who have shown pretty poor attacking form. I don't know if I'd be fully confident in a triple captain on Kane, but you know, some people might disagree with me there, and that's fair enough. You know, you got to go with your gut at the end of the day with triple captain. I'm not going to tell you exactly who to triple captain. I don't think that's really how this chip works. You know, you take a risk, you've got to take your own risk, and you've got to own it yourself. You've got to own the risk. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this player, because you'll just be coming to me next week saying, why did you tell me to triple captain him? Look, there's options. Go with your gut. Do a little bit of your own research, but there are a few players that do look nice this game week. But as I say, in future game weeks, there might be players that look even nicer for your double. So don't feel like you absolutely have to play your triple captain if you're not 100% convinced by it. Anyway, guys, that is the end of the video. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully I covered most of your big questions for the game week. You know, I certainly needed to do some research for this video just to get my head around everything that's going on right now. There's so many variables, isn't there? But hopefully this has helped you. And if it has, please do give a big thumbs up. And subscribe, of course, if you're new around here. I would really, really appreciate that. Also, you know, there's loads of stuff in my description. If you want to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, join my mini league, join my Discord channel, and we can have a chat over there about all things FPL. Please do join me on there. Why not? And aside from that, guys, tomorrow will be a team selection video, I believe, where I'll be showing you my own team and how I'm going to be lining up going into the double game week 26. Might have to take a -4 myself, guys, in order to pull this bench boost off, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. But thank you again, once again, for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.